Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Michael Noland here, and tonight, you know what I wanted to do was talk about something positive for a change that happened in rock and roll in 2022, and that was a release of a really great kick-ass rock album. The artist, familiar to us all, the Duke of Doom, beheader of Fuzzy Wuzzies, and the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, released his 13th album, Patient Number 9. Now, you know what? This album really kind of took me by surprise, to tell you the truth. What with Ozzy hitting the headlines so often in the last 18 months concerning health issues, and those health issues seem to be deteriorating right before our eyes, I didn't think the guy would be putting out a Class A album on top of all of that. Now, I'm going to get into a track-by-track analysis of this album tonight, and I do want to say this though right from the out front. If you know of anybody who is an Ozzy Osbourne fan and you're wondering what to get them for Christmas, this album is definitely an open me first gift. Now, in interviews, Ozzy said that he had a really good, strong feeling about this album, like he has had in the past on some of his other albums that have done very well right from the get-go. He even said that they remixed this album 5 full different times. As a matter of fact, to tell you the truth, in that interview, he seemed to imply that the whole album kind of came together rather organically. You know what? That's often the best albums in rock. You know, the ones that just come naturally to the artist. And by the way, folks, this album has a few surprises. There are guest appearances on this album galore. Jeff Beck is there, Eric Clapton, Taylor Hawkins, some of the very last things he recorded before he died, Zack Wilde, with even a guest bassist from Metallica itself. This album really does have a lot to offer. Now, it's interesting because in another article I read that there is talk between Ozzy and Alice Cooper to do something in the future. That would be very interesting, which leads us to the very first track, Patient Number 9. And you know what? You could swear you hear Alice Cooper on the intro of this song. And the song is very Alice Cooper-ish as far as themes. Now, this is a familiar theme, no doubt, but I like some of the lyrics in this thing. I love the fact where the individual looks in the mirror and he doesn't recognize that face anymore. He has changed so much since the last time he really took a look at himself. And Jeff Beck supplies some of the most sizzling guitar work here with those good old Jeff Beck change-ups in the solo. I love this track. Track 2, Immortal. I love the lyrics on this song. Is it fear or fear of death? Whatever it is that Ozzy is the essence of in this song, it is immortal. It never dies. I love the whole approach. Of course, this track features Mike McCready from Pearl Jam. Excellent. I love the staccato intro, and then the guitars start getting complicated, just like we would expect from Mike. Wonderful track. Track 3, featuring Zack Wilde, is called Parasite, and I love this song. This is my favorite cut thus far on the album, and you know what? It's right there at the part when he sings Mother Tried. The whole meter of the song changes, and there is the hook to that song. I love this song. Another look at insanity brought on by perhaps child abuse. Next up, track 4, Oops, Sorry, track 3, my new favorite track on the album. And of course, I'm talking about No Escape From Now. The very second this track hits, you could swear you're listening to Black Sabbath. And why not? Tony Iommi is one of the co-writers on this song. And it all starts off with that familiar Sabbath sound, with Ozzy's almost Planet Caravan voice, and then just as soon as you think that you got a grip on where this song is going, Tony Iommi, the riff master of riff masters himself, sends us into a new direction. I love this track. All right, next track up, track 5, One of Those Days, featuring Eric Clapton. You know what? When I heard this track start, I immediately looked to see if Eric was a co-writer, and amazingly enough, he's not. And yet you could swear by the chords they use here, this was at least co-written by Eric. But it's not just the purposefully chosen chord progression here to remind us of Eric Clapton. He's at his very best. You could swear for moments that this was Cream playing, not Ozzy Osbourne. All right, on to track 6, 1,000 Shades of Grey. This is featuring Jeff Beck once again, and you know what? This is one of Jeff Beck's greatest solos that he's ever done. At times as fast as he's ever been. But what I'm talking about here, folks, is the vocabulary, the notes that he has chosen to play this. Listen to it a good 3 times in a row and you'll know what I'm talking about. This man still has something to say on guitar, with lyrics to indicate the very fears that Ozzy has talked about in interviews. You kind of wonder if this isn't one of the most personal songs that he has ever been involved in helping out to create. Tracks 7 and 8 are Mr. Darkness and Nothing Feels Right, both featuring Zack Wilde on guitar. And between these two songs, I would have to say Mr. Darkness is my least favorite, still an excellent track, but probably the weakest track on the album for me and to my ears. But the next track more than makes up for it. Now, I haven't seen the vinyl edition of this. From what I understand, it's the same as the digital release, with the exception that they flipped the first 2 tracks. So I would imagine this is side 2, folks. I haven't seen the actual vinyl version of this, but this is an excellent song to start what I would consider to be the traditional side 2, or the second half of the album. Track 9 is The Evil Shuffle, and man, it's got an evil shuffle all the way through. This is a perfect example of the material on this album, folks. This is a hook-driven song right from the get-go. You're not only hooked into the groove, but you kind of find yourself dancing to it. I love it when a cut does not take itself too seriously. It's got some dark humor, dark elements to the song. Track 10, Degradation Rules. You know what? What saves this track from being just so-so is the harp played on this track. Tony Iommi is featured on this track, but not as a songwriter, not as a co-writer for this material, and it does show, in my opinion. But I love the track. I love the harp playing especially. Great guitar work, all of it. But to me, when I hear that harp, this harp song is placed perfectly on this album. You're ready for a different sound at this point. It gives the ears a respite to hear what the rest of the album has to offer. Perfectly placed. Now, track 11's kind of funny here. You know, it's called Dead and Gone. The lyrics are really serious here, but I could swear I hear an almost let's skip rope beat to this song. And you know what? That saves this song. This is where we need a little levity. But it's that skip along kind of beat that drives this song. And after the harmonica on the preceding track, this again gives the ears a bit of respite. All right, track 12, and essentially the last track on the album. Not quite, we'll talk about that in a minute, but the magnificent album closer really is God Only Knows. Now, you know, it's interesting. I have held off talking about this so far while covering this album. On a lot of these songs, Ozzy's vocals, you can tell he has gone to lower ranges in his approach to these songs. This track is an excellent example of that. But you know what I'm trying to get across here, folks, is here's a man who can't quite reach the range that he used to, but he still hits some pretty good ranges on this album at times. I gotta tell you that. But you know what? 74 years old, and he still has the delivery that he has, and he's modified his whole music approach here, and I love it. This is how you stay alive in rock and roll. This is how you become a top gun. This is how you outdraw the younger talent. Another excellent song that is almost a personal statement from Ozzy the man, not just Ozzy the rock star. All right, next up, the true album closer, Dark Side Blues. And you know what? Talk about a lo-fi recording, and that's why I say that this is actually more of a bonus cut. That's the feel you get. But you know, with it placed here and what we've talked about in the last few tracks, it's actually the second half of this album that winds up being the most interesting to listen to. By the time you're done listening to Dark Side Blues, you're ready to replay that album. A great, heavy, classic rock album in 2022. Who would have ever believed it? All I can say, folks, like I said at the beginning of this video, is if you know of somebody in your life that just loves Ozzy Osbourne, do them a great favor and put that album under their tree for Christmas this year, because they're not going to be disappointed at all. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithm better identify the channel to a larger audience, and of course the channel grows. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel as of yet, it is so easy. All you have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button, then hit that top bell icon, and you'll be notified of all my future videos concerning classic rock's greatest rock artists and bands, as well as some of the stuff that's happening in today's music. Just like we covered tonight, although this particular artist goes way back, he's putting out a whole lot better stuff than a lot of the new artists I'm hearing these days. All right, I'm putting the finishing touches on my next video until I can get that loaded. Why don't you watch one of these? I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line. We are the tribe, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.